Hello, medics. Today we are going to share about the disease transmission cycle. As usual, Modrik's my name. You can follow those contacts. That's the YouTube link that we are seeing on the screen. As also, if you have any question, you can also follow me on Gmail and text it. So today, our session is going to talk about the disease transmission cycle. And we are going to see how the disease is able to be caused. How does it move? How does the microorganism move from its source until it reaches a susceptible host? So when you talk about the disease transmission cycle, this is a simple illustration of it as you're going to see, but we briefly talk about the source, where the microorganism will be coming from. We look at the way it is going to leave its source, and also we talk about how it is going to affect the susceptible host. And we look at a number of stages which the microorganism has to follow. As you are seeing, that is a brief illustration of the disease transmission cycle, where we see the source, route of transmission, and susceptible host. And for today's session, we are going to explain all this. What does it mean? What does source mean, route of transmission, and susceptible host? So when you talk about the source can be an infected person, it can be an animal or soil. People or animals may be clinical cases or carriers. So when we look at the source, we are briefly asking ourselves, where is this coming from? We look at the origin of the microorganism, from where it will be coming from, where it lives, and is able to spread to its new host. So that is the source. We are saying the microorganism will come from an infected person, it can come from an animal or the person. For example, the people called carriers, they have an infectious agent, themselves cannot get signs and symptoms, but they can spread the infection to others. The reservoirs, which are animals, also have an infectious agent, but they have no disease. That is all about the source as the first stage in the disease transmission cycle. Then next we talk about the route of transmission. And when we are talking about the route of transmission, we are looking at the ways through which the microorganism has to travel from the source to reach the susceptible host. And these are some of the routes of transmission. For example, can say direct contact. This one can be during sexual intercourse, that the microorganism was in one individual, and through direct contact, it gets to another individual. When we talk about the next way, airborne droplets, that there are some diseases where someone's drops, once they fall on you, then you are likely to acquire the microorganism. We talk about fecal contamination. This is a route we call orophycal route. There's contamination of soil, food, and water. And once they gain access to the mouth of this other individual, then that's the only way you will have gotten the problem. We talk about contact with animal and animal products. For example, zoonotic diseases. Most of the time, this is the route of transmission, contact with animal and animal product. Then also talk about the vector transmission, that we have some insects which will go and pick the microorganism from wherever it is and brings it to the individual. So when we talk about the route of transmission as the next stage in the disease transmission cycle, we simply look at the ways through which the microorganism is going to leave the source and reaches a susceptible host. Then as we saw in the diagram, this is the last part of it, where we talk about susceptible host. Who is that susceptible host? We are saying is one with low immunity, and for that case has less resistance to that disease. The immunity is lowered and has low resistance. Whoever is in that case, we shall call him a susceptible host. So what are those causes of that low immunity? One, not having come into contact with the organism before. Because the body has never gotten in contact with the organism, so it doesn't have any resistance, and hence when it gets into contact, then it's likely to affect the individual. Another issue that causes low resistance, we are saying certain infections that weaken immunity. If a host already has an infection, for example, malaria, HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, all those diseases will weaken the immunity. And if it so happens that a new microorganism comes, then this other individual is likely now to have the disease. Another cause of low resistance is malnutrition. What we are saying now, it is worse because if the immunity is lowered, then we find it harder for this other person to resist that disease. So we have looked at the disease transmission cycle, and we have seen that we have 3 stages. We talk about the source, we talk about the route of transmission, and we talk about the susceptible host. Thank you for listening. Let's meet in the next lecture as we talk about the principles of managing communicable diseases. Modric is my name. You can follow me on the YouTube channel and find all this information. Thank you.